you've ever thought, oh, that is so beautiful, but I could never do that, this video is for you. I am going to give you a step-by-step tutorial so that you can make this butterfly sourdough in your own home. My butterfly bread videos have gotten over 6 million views, which still does not seem real. Thank you all so much. And I've gotten a lot of questions about how I did it and the tools that I've used. I'm going to lay it all out in this video. I am not a professional baker. Everything that I've learned about sourdough has been from asking questions of other sourdough makers, watching YouTube videos, and just figuring out what works best for me. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through my entire process from feeding my starter, shaping the dough, doing the butterflies, and baking the bread. Once you make a loaf like this, you will feel like there is nothing you can't do. Let's make some butterfly bread. Before we get to the butterflies, let's start at the beginning with the starter and the process that makes this bread possible. The night before you actually make your dough, you're going to go ahead and feed your starter. I usually feed Niles, my starter, usually about 5 to 8 p.m. since my house is in the colder side and I wanted to have time to rise. For one loaf, I usually do 20 grams of starter, 100 grams of water, and 100 grams of all-purpose flour. This makes a little extra so I can make other things like pizza crusts, muffins, etc., but I am doubling that here as I want to make 2 loaves. I also recommend using warm water just to help it rise a little bit faster. Okay, you're gonna mix, get lots of air in that thing, make sure there's no raw flour left in the bottom, and really get it all incorporated. You want it to be the consistency of like a really thick pancake mix, but you can add a little water if you need to. Here, I'm just marking where it's at with a dry erase marker so I can see how much it's risen tomorrow. Okay, just pop a lid on it, put it somewhere out of the way. I put mine up on the fridge, and we will see it again in the morning. I have a 2-year-old, so I'm usually up pretty early, so I did start mixing this dough around 7. You don't have to be up that early, but you do want to use your starter when it's at peak or just starting to fall, so plan accordingly. I really like the Farmhouse on Boone beginner sourdough recipe. So this recipe, for one loaf, it calls for 100 grams of starter, 325 grams of warm water, not hot water, but just warm, 475 grams of all-purpose flour, and 10 grams of salt. So you're just gonna mix the water and the starter together with a whisk or a dough whisk if you have one, and then you're gonna add in the flour and the salt. Also, y'all, consider this my PSA to get a kitchen scale. For this to work out, it has to be precise and measured by weight. It's intimidating at first, but it is so much easier to work with for all recipes because you have like no dirty dishes or measuring cups to clean. After I've gotten it started with my dough whisk and whisked it a little bit, I'll usually get my hands wet and go ahead and mix it a bit by hand. I just want to try and get it a little bit more incorporated, and this seems the best way to do it. Now I'm going to let it sit with a shower cap or towel or whatever you have for about 20 to 30 minutes just to allow the flour to hydrate before we start doing the stretch and folds. Okay, so now we're going to do 3 sets of stretch and folds, 1 set every 30 minutes. So I hope you didn't make plans today. Basically, you're just going to grab one side at a time, gently pull up and fold it over. I do this typically about 4 times, just going around the sides of the ball of the dough. You'll see the dough get stretchier and smoother with each set, but basically this is just building up the strength and the gluten for your bread. Okay, so another 30 minutes goes by and we're gonna do another set of stretch and folds. Again, it's helpful just to have your hand wet so that the dough doesn't stick to it super bad. But we're just gonna pull up on the dough just like we did before and fold it over, just going around all 4 sides. If it's extra stretchy, you can go around again. It's not gonna hurt the dough. Okay, so you're gonna cover it. We're gonna wait another 30 minutes and we're gonna do 1 more set of stretch and folds before we let it rise. Once you've done the 3 sets of stretch and folds, just put it up somewhere out of the way, like on top of the fridge, and we're gonna let it do its thing. So first, we're gonna lightly flour some banneton baskets with rice flour to prevent the bread from sticking. So ideally, we want it to grow at least 50% in volume. We want it to have domed edges that are pulling away from the sides of the bowl, large air bubbles on the top, and a pretty good jiggle. Okay, so you're gonna pull the bread out of the bowl, just making sure to get all of the excess that's on the sides and the bottom. I'm splitting this into 2 because I'm making 2 different loaves, but I'm just gonna set that second one aside for now. Everyone does it differently, but I just basically pull all the sides to the center and create surface tension just into a little ball, and then I'm going to flip it over so that the seam is on the bottom. I'm then just pulling it towards me using my hands, or you can use a bench scraper, and just trying to get it in a tight little ball. Twisting it like this also kind of helps build surface tension and just gets it nice and smooth if this helps as well. Okay, so we're gonna flip it over into a floured banneton, and you can either cover it with a towel or a shower cap, and we're just gonna plop it in the fridge to ferment overnight. The next day, whenever you're ready to bake your bread, you're gonna start by putting your dough in the freezer and setting a timer for 30 minutes. Freezing your dough just gives you extra time to do detailed scoring like the butterflies. You're also going to put your Dutch oven in the oven and preheat it to 500. Usually about the time that your oven is ready to preheat is about the time that your timer goes off for your bread. While you're waiting, go ahead and get your workstation set up. It is going to go fast and you want everything you need to be ready. A lazy Susan or turntable like this is perfect just to help you move your dough around easier. And a small round bread lane like this one I brought on Amazon is perfect for getting in small places and doing detail work. You're also going to need a small flour sifter or powdered sugar sifter, some balled up parchment paper or foil, one for each wing that you're going to have in your design, and have these rolled before you start baking. A water mister like this one I got at Dollar Tree. And of course, you can't forget your butterfly stencils. I got these paper scrapbooking cutouts on Amazon, but I will link everything below in the description box. And last but not least, some parchment paper or a silicone bread sling like this one to help you lift your bread. Okay, are you ready? You can do this. Get your bread out of the freezer and flip it onto your bread sling or parchment paper. You're going to lightly mist the top of the dough to help the stencils and the flour stick. Next, you're going to place your stencils and mist the tops of them lightly with your mister to get them to bend and adhere to the dough. Get your flour sifter and lightly sift rice flour, or all-purpose if that's all that you have, over the stencils, making sure to get it over all the small details. Then lightly flour the rest of the dough. Carefully dust off any excess flour and gently pat down the stencils to make sure the flour is in all the small areas. Okay, now either using your finger or your bread lame, gently lift the corner of each stencil and remove and set aside. Now it's time for the fun part. Get your bread lame and make a shallow outline cut around each wing. Remember, the deeper that you score, the more likely that the bread will burst in those areas. So you want to do a very shallow, very light scoring. That is going to be great for detail work. If you want to add another design or a simple wheat pattern, you can trace a design with a toothpick and then just gently make shallow cuts on the blank areas of the bread. I'm also adding an expansion score around the side just to allow for a place for the bread to let off steam. Now it's finally time to bake. You're going to gently lift the bread into your preheated Dutch oven, cover it, and put it in the oven, setting a timer for 7 minutes. This allows the crust to start to form, but it is still soft enough to allow you to make cuts. Okay, this is the part where you need to work fast. When the 7 minutes are up, lift the bread out of the Dutch oven and onto your workstation, but be careful, it is really hot. Just work quickly and use your bread lame to cut around each wing and lift to put your balled up parchment paper or foil underneath each wing. Just breathe and keep going, you have got this. Lift the bread back into the Dutch oven and bake covered for another 13 minutes. Now you can breathe and take a break because you've earned it. Once the timer goes off, lower the oven temperature to 475 and take the lid off of the Dutch oven. Set a timer for 20 minutes. It's so tempting to peek at this stage, but leave the door closed. You need all that good steam to help your dough rise and you don't want to let it out. Once done, lift the bread onto a cooling rack and admire all your hard work. You freaking did that and you should be so proud of yourself. And even if it doesn't look perfect, all that matters is that it tastes good and you tried something new. Lastly, while your bread is still hot, go ahead and remove all the parchment paper or foil, otherwise they are really hard to remove when it's cool. If you made it to the end, thank you so much for baking with me. You don't need fancy tools or a fancy kitchen to bake beautiful bread. You just need patience and practice. And the thing about bread is it has a mind of its own. It's hard to get it perfect. Look, this one is a little flatter than I would like. It's got some tears on the front. It's probably a little bit underproofed, but you know what? It's still pretty. The butterflies are still cute and it still tastes good. So even if your bread isn't super, fluffy and amazing the first time, don't give up, keep trying. I've done this like 100 times and I still get loaves that aren't perfect. And who cares? At the end of the day, y'all, we're making food and it is edible. It is going to taste good, even if it's not the prettiest thing in the world. If you try this, I really want to see what you make. So please tag me or comment down below if you have any questions or any tutorials that you'd like for me to share in the future. And happy baking!